Yo, what is up, my friends? Thank you all for joining me today. Today, man, I'm doing great. Hope you all are doing amazing. Life is good and it's only getting better for you and me. So, today, man, not today, but I got asked a question not too long ago to make a video on the Archons. And I was sent a link about the Archons and reincarnation and is reincarnation a trap and so on. So, here is a video on the Archons, Gnosticism, and reincarnation. So let's get right into it. When we're talking Archons, most people today refer to the reptilians as Archons, which is only partly true. The reptilians are only one entity that you could classify as an Archon. And I'll talk more about the reptilians later, but really I want to go more so into some of the more factual and historical information behind what an Archon really is. And I will really be going into Gnosticism right now and their view of what an Archon is. Because the word Archon is essentially just a Greek word that means ruler or someone who is in control. And we really see this word used with a negative connotation for the first time within the Gnostic ideology. And within Gnosticism, we have the 7 main classical planets that are the 7 chief archons, and they are led by the supreme archon, which is the demiurge. And these 7 classical planets being the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars. Now I want to say here the Zoroastrians actually believed in a similar concept, but they believed the Sun and the Moon were positive forces in the universe. And I also want to note that the Gnostics have a very, very negative view on the physical universe just because when they were around their groups, because there were many different Gnostic groups, when they were around, they were essentially getting slaughtered by the Roman Catholic Church because around that time, the Roman Empire switched from their old beliefs to Catholicism. And anybody that did not conform, especially the people that had very heretical beliefs like the Gnostics, were just slaughtered and crusaded against. And that is because the Gnostics did not believe the creator of the physical reality of the 3D to be the real God, but a false god, which they called the demiurge. Even though they believed in Christ as an eon who incarnated on the planet as Jesus in order to spread gnosis, their views were just too heretical for the Catholic Church to accept and leave them around. And gnosis is a Greek word meaning knowledge, but more specifically to the Gnostics, it meant true spiritual knowledge, spiritual truths of divine understanding. And if I did not make this clear earlier, the Gnostics are essentially early Christian groups before the Romans took over and unified the ideology or religion. And they were very much influenced by a lot of Plato's ideas and mystic Judaism as well. So going into some more Gnostic cosmology so you guys understand, like I said earlier, the demiurge is the leader and creator of not just the archons, but the physical world. And right here, I want to say Archons, they are described as having beast-like heads. So not necessarily reptilian, just beast-like, animal-like. And the demiurge essentially is an incomplete eon. An eon being an entity or consciousness that emanates straight out of the monad. The monad being the singular source, the true creator, the true God. And out of the monad, we get plenty of eons. One of these eons, which is important to us, is Sophia, meaning wisdom in Greek. So this all takes a turn when Sophia negligently decides to engage in creative activity without the consent of the monad and her male counterpart, which is Christ, who is another eon. Due to this, she creates an entity named Yaldabaoth from thought, who is deformed and imperfect. Yaldabaoth being the demiurge, the first archon. Sophia tries to hide him from the other eons and conceals him in clouded darkness. Yaldabaoth, still having the powers of creation as the aeons above him do, he creates the physical world and more archons under his leadership. But in addition to Yaldabaoth, we also have Abraxas, which Abraxas is a very mysterious figure. No one really knows where he fits into the cosmology, what sort of power he has, what he really is. Well, I should say he/she, because Abraxas is androgynous by nature. So it is really unclear what his or her power really is. It was said that Abraxas leads 365 Archons themselves. So the job of the Archons is to keep us in the physical and not allow us to leave into the more spiritual heavenly realms. And the Gnostics believed it is our job to transcend the effects of the celestial bodies and other Archons in order to rejoin with true divinity. And we do so through achieving Gnosis, true spiritual knowledge or insight. Now, to revisit the reptilians, it is to my knowledge that they are not the original Archons, though they are in sort of an agreement or understanding with each other. Now, if you're wondering how humanity got here from the Gnostic perspective, the Gnostics believed that Yaldabaoth was tricked into creating humanity by Sophia and Christ, that essentially they were tricked into creating a image of man that was sent to them through light. And in return, once they created the body, this is just keeping it very short, Sophia tricked the demiurge Yaldabaoth to breathe some of his light, which in return is Sophia's light, into Adamas, which would be Adam, the first man, making him alive, incarnate. So we as humans all have the light of Sophia, the light of the monad in reality within us. That is essentially what the Gnostics, most of the Gnostics commonly believed about how humanity was created. I don't necessarily believe in that 100%. I am sure that there is a lot more going on that went on that doesn't make it into a lot of these creation myths. That the reality of the situation is a lot deeper than what these myths convey to us. So now to revisit the reptilians, it is to my knowledge that they are not the original Archons, though they are in some sort of agreement with them. They both benefit on us remaining in the third dimension, in the physical world. So they have a sort of agreement and understanding with each other. So they help each other keep us here. And that is through the Matrix. But the Demiurge and his Archons want to keep us here in the physical for their own egotistical reasons, while the reptilians want to more so feed off of negative energies. And I don't necessarily view the Demiurge as an entirely negative being, to be honest. I know the Gnostics did, but I view the Demiurge more as some sort of archetypal energy that embodies the sort of jealous girlfriend, boyfriend who never wants you to leave, who always wants you around for their benefit, for their own egotistical fulfillment, and they don't really care how you feel necessarily. You know, you could be doing good, you can be doing bad, but as long as you're there, that's all that matters. So that is kind of how I view the Demiurge and their Archons. I view the reptilians more so negatively, although nothing is really bad or good in reality, it's all just duality. Because if you think about it, like going outside, when you see a mosquito, you don't look at that mosquito and think, oh, that mosquito's evil. It wants to suck my blood. It wants to do all these things. Like, no, you just think it's a mosquito. It sucks your blood. That's what it does. And that's essentially what the reptilians are. They just want your energy. So they're not necessarily evil. It's just the functionality of the reptilians. And it is something that will make us stronger in return. If you really understand that, then you will really spiritually progress once you move out of this duality type mentality. And one of the first times we get a description of these reptilians is within the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. In the tablets, Thoth describes the reptilians as being brought here through portals using dark magic during Atlantean times by jealous humans and gods who seeked more power, describing them as different than us on a totally different vibration, formless and only being able to take form through blood and live on Earth through man. Described as reptilian in appearance when we are able to see them, because oftentimes they are cloaked. So both of these forces, the Demiurge and the reptilians, they are both Archons technically, and they work in unison to keep us here, although they both come from different sources, different dimensions essentially. Which is why we have so many different distractions going on in this third dimension. So many just stuff in this matrix that is just keeping us grounded on Earth. Just think about all the stuff going on today. Will Smith slaps Chris Rock, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard in trial. It's all over the news. whatever sort of global catastrophe is happening right now as you're watching this video, there's always something they're trying to shove in your face to keep you distracted. And all of this is keeping you distracted from the real spiritual aspects in life, from gaining and achieving gnosis. And to the Gnostics, making substantial spiritual progress by obtaining gnosis is how you break out of the reincarnation cycle. And yes, Gnostics did believe in reincarnation, even though they are early Christian groups essentially. They would say that death releases the divine spark from its physical prison, being our bodies. But if there has not been a substantial progress of spiritual knowledge or evolution, meaning gnosis, prior to death, it is most likely that the spark that you are will be re-embodied into a new physical vessel. So it is entirely up to you if you want to do your best to evolve spiritually, or if you want to be lost in the illusion of the material world. I'll hear a lot of people say reincarnation is a trap, the Archons are there and they're going to trick you into coming back. But really, we have to be conscious of who we are giving our power to, because we have so much potential, we have so much power within us that many of us do not even realize. I mean, just look at the concept of an egregore. The idea that our thoughts, if enough people think the same thought, can literally create an entity or an outcome. The classic example of an egregore is Santa Claus. You know, there is a legitimate feeling on Christmas Eve, even though, sorry to break it to you for some of you guys, but Santa's not real. But there is this feeling on Christmas Eve of just this special energy, and that is because all of these children believing Santa's coming overnight. You even look at the movie Elf, and this concept is played out. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen Elf. It's a pretty popular Christmas movie with Will Ferrell. In the movie, Buddy the Elf, he has to get at least all of New York to believe in Santa again, because no one believes in Santa anymore. Santa's sleigh runs on the belief in Santa, the Christmas spirit, which no one has anymore. So he relies on technology, on a rocket, on an engine that he puts in his sleigh. And when that fails, Buddy has to do his best to get the rest of New York to believe in Santa again. When everyone starts believing again, Santa's sleigh starts to work. This is just another esoteric concept being played out in a Hollywood film. You know, none of these people are original. There is nothing new under the sun. And honestly, the truth is, my truth is, that there is nothing keeping us here besides ourselves. You make that decision to move on or to stay here, and that decision we make is not just in that moment after death, but it is right now. How we decide to live. Do you live consciously and seek truth no matter if it's ugly or beautiful? Or do you decide to remain unconscious and avoid truth? Rather stay in what you already know as familiar and comfortable. The conscious progress you make during your life will really decide what happens to you after you die, after your spirit leaves this realm. Because if you're working on yourself, making yourself conscious, achieving what the Gnostics called gnosis, and you die, and you are confronted by entities that are disguising themselves as your family, and they're telling you, oh, come to the lights, you should be conscious enough to say, hey, I'm dead right now. Why am I being consorted by my family members that are physical? This is just the physical representation of them. This is not their actual divine nature. I should not be talking to them right now. I cannot actually go back to that life. So why is that there? You should be able to be conscious enough to understand that. And if you're in some weird daze and don't understand that, then you weren't working on yourself enough, and you're probably going to have to come back here. So it's really nothing to worry about, because if you are working on yourself spiritually, physically, mentally, this is not something you're easily going to fall for. You know, think of these negative forces, these quote-unquote negative forces, as your rivals, something that is pushing you to make you better. You know, would Ash become Pokemon Master if it wasn't for Gary? Would Naruto have been strong enough to become Hokage if he wasn't chasing after Sasuke the whole time? Yeah, those are some nerdy examples, but they're true. You know, you have to push yourself to be your best version, to reach your full potential. Because we all have this huge divine potential to be so much more than any of us can truly understand. And the only thing holding you back, that can possibly hold you back, is not some external entity or force, but it's yourself. your own unconscious behaviors. So it is entirely up to you whether you want to spiritually evolve or stay stuck. So guys, that is the video for today. That is the Archons, Gnosticism, and Reincarnation. Those are my thoughts on it. Hope you guys thought this was interesting, maybe thought-provoking. Hopefully you guys have some new views on what is really going on here. Maybe you're a bit more optimistic going into the future because we are really so much more powerful than they want us to believe. But anyways, guys, like I said, that's the video for today. Any questions whatsoever, drop them down below and I will answer them. Like the video, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And as always, guys, you all have a great day. Peace.